One of the most requested topics that students have been asking me to make videos on is the process of getting education loans. And I have been holding myself back because I wasn't fully aware of the process and the document requirements myself. Now that I've been through the process of getting both secured and unsecured loans myself, I think I am in a better position to make this video right now. If you are falling short of funds for your study in a university abroad or even in India, you might want to consider taking out an education loan. Now, we all know what loans are in general, but what is special about education loans? Assuming you take an education loan and use that money to pay the tuition fee for your university. During the length of your program, you will be studying. So it is obvious that you will not be able to make enough money to pay off the loan. Now, after the study period ends, you'll try your ass off to get a good paying full-time job, which in some scenarios could take a few months. So banks usually give a grace period of 6 months after the study period ends. The study period and grace period together form the moratorium period. During this time, your co-applicant might have to partially or fully pay the simple interest accrued on your loan. After the moratorium period ends, it is assumed that the student will have a full-time job, so the EMI for the loan starts, which ideally should be paid by the student. During this time, the interest is compounded annually or monthly depending upon the bank. If you are falling short of funds for your study abroad and you plan to take out an education loan, make sure you attach the loan sanction letter as a proof of fund in your study permit application. Simply put, you need to get your education loan sanctioned before you could apply for study permit or student visa. By the way, if you're finding value out of this video, kindly press the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps my videos reach more people and motivates me to keep making videos like this. Coming back to the topic, let's take a look at the first type of education loan, which is unsecured education loan. The main point about unsecured education loans is that you don't have to provide any sort of collateral or security. And because you don't have to go through the paperwork of giving something as a security, the processing time for non-secured loans is much lesser compared to that of secured loans. Also, since banks are taking a risky step in giving you a loan without any collateral or security, the interest rates in this case is a bit higher compared to that of secured loans. But this varies from bank to bank, and do remember that this is negotiable. Now let's take a look at the required documents for unsecured loan. First, let's take a look at the documents that are required from the student or applicant's end. First, you'll need passport size photos of yourself. Secondly, your passport. Also, a copy of the first page and last page of your passport. Now, depending upon your country, you might be asked to present some more identification documents. For India, we have Aadhaar card and PAN card. Next, you'll need your standardized test scores. So if you have written GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, any of these, you'll need score reports for these tests. The next piece of document you need is the offer letter or admission letter from your university, the one which contains all of the details about the program, including the fee structure. So previously I've made a video about the welcome package that I received from the University of Toronto for my MS program. So in my case, that welcome package is the document that the banks will be looking for. And finally, if you are a working individual, you need to provide your bank statements and salary slips. And that is pretty much all of the documents that are required from the students or the applicant's end. Next, let's take a look at the documents that are required from the co-applicant side. Once again, passport size photos and the copy of first and last page of the passport. Apart from that, your co-applicant needs to provide their present and permanent address proof. This could include phone, electricity or Wi-Fi bill. Once again, depending upon the country of residence, your co-applicant might need to provide some additional identification documents. For example, in India, we have Aadhaar card and PAN card. Next, your co-applicant needs to provide salary slips for the last 3 months, and if they don't have salary slips, then they can even provide salary certificate. Like in my case, my dad does not get salary slips. Instead, he has a salary certificate, so that's what I submitted. The next piece of document is the co-applicant's bank statements for the last 6 months. And finally, co-applicants' income tax related documents if they have any. And that is pretty much all of the documents that are required from the applicant and co-applicant's end for an unsecured loan application. Next, let's take a look at secured loans. As the name suggests, in case of secured loans, you're going to provide some sort of security to the banks against which you'll take out a loan. The security could be FDs that you're holding in that bank, or it could be a land or a property. In case of FDs, the amount could vary from 50% to sometimes even 100% of your loan amount. Do remember that if you're using FDs as a security for your education loan, the banks will lien your FDs, meaning that you won't be able to liquidate them until you have cleared, or by cleared I mean paid off your loan completely. So in my opinion, FDs shouldn't be used as security because you won't be able to cash the money that you're holding in your FDs in case of an emergency. I would recommend using a non-liquid asset like land or property as a security instead. In case of land or property, technical and legal evaluation is done by the bank officials, which requires additional paperwork and could take about 2 to 3 months extra. My dad started the property evaluation last year in November and it got finished last month. So if you're planning to opt for secured loan, make sure you have enough time ahead of you. Now let's take a look at what are the additional documents that are required in case of a secured loan. So if you're planning to use FDs as security, then you don't need to provide any additional document. The only requirement here is that those FDs should be in that bank. If, however, you're planning to take out an education loan against a land or a property, then the co-applicant needs to provide the property papers as well. And that is pretty much all about secured loans. Now let's take a look at the case when the co-applicant is a non-resident individual or an NRI. I have included this case here because my dad is working in the Middle East, so he is an NRI. In this case, the co-applicant needs to provide some additional documents. To begin with, banks will ask for co-applicant's overseas address proof. So in this case, Wi-Fi, telephone or electricity bill can be provided to the banks. The second document here is the overseas bank statement. So this is nothing but the bank in which the co-applicant gets his salary. The third piece of document here is the NRI account statement, which is nothing but the bank account in which the NRI co-applicant transfers the money that he earns abroad. The fourth piece of document is the overseas credit report. So your co-applicant needs to generate his credit report in the country that he is currently staying, and he needs to provide that to the banks. The next document is the ID proof of your co-applicant in the country that he is currently staying in. Now this document might be asked. It is not compulsory but depends upon the bank. And the final piece of document required by the co-applicant in case they are an NRI is the Xerox of their visa. An important point to note is that if your co-applicant is an NRI, then some banks might not even agree to give you an unsecured education loan because they have the fear of you and your co-applicant defaulting on the loan and running away because both of you will be abroad. So they might ask you to opt for a secured loan instead. However, in India, some NBFCs like HDFC Credila do provide unsecured education loans up to a certain amount, which is usually 25 lakhs even to NRIs. Apart from the interest, you also need to pay the processing fee, which is usually 1% of the loan amount, and it has to be paid upfront. You must pay the complete processing fee in order to get your sanction letter. Also, do keep in mind that the processing fee is negotiable. So if you have a savings account or FDs in that bank, you can ask them to lower the processing fee to something like 0.5% as well. In case of unsecured loans, some banks or NBFCs also require a loan insurance, which is usually 1% of the loan amount. But unlike processing fee, insurance fee doesn't have to be paid upfront. Instead, it is added to the principal amount, which will be paid off in installments after the moratorium period ends. It is better to proceed with multiple banks, and as you get quotes from them, you'll have multiple options which you could use to your advantage to negotiate the rate of interest or processing fees. Personally, I went with a secured loan from ICICI Bank and an unsecured loan from HDFC Credila. HDFC Credila came back to me with a quote saying that they're able to offer me 25 lakhs as the loan amount, at 11.25% per annum interest and 1% processing fee. But I've asked them to raise the loan amount to somewhere close to 30 to 35 lakhs. If they're able to, that's great. If they're not, then I'll probably have to go with 25 lakhs itself. And yeah, by the way, ICICI will be reaching out to me soon, so I'm expecting them to report back to me within the next week with a quote. So after I get quotes from both the banks, I'll try to negotiate the processing fee and interest rates, and if I make any progress, you guys will be the first ones to know. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.